traffic study.
Thanks, Katie.
Mhm.
So before Zach, I'd like to make sure the planning commission, if you have any questions regarding Kate's presentation, this would be a good time to ask.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure, Victoria?
I have an inquiry.
Sure.
I would like to know what law or statute allows us to act as a legislative body while violating our bylaws.
You're not acting in this capacity. You're not acting as a legislative body. You're acting as a quasi judicial body, first of all. And we will be getting to that part of the discussion
Okay,
later.
amend my inquiry. What laws or otherwise statute allows us to act as a quasi judicial body without following our bylaws?
Who said we're not following our bylaws?
We're not following our bylaws in multiple ways right now.
We had a decision about that. Be happy to talk about that later. We have that on the agenda.
So that would be something.
But your assessment of violating the bylaws is not necessarily shared by all of us.
So can we focus on the Prock?
No, I have another inquiry. What governs this body?
State statute.
State statute. And what part of state statute allows us to defy and violate our bylaws?
You said we're doing it. That's your opinion?
No, we can read
Do
our
you have a
bylaws.
legal opinion?
I've forwarded out an email to everyone here with references to laws
When
and
did you
specific
do that?
references to our bylaws
When
just
did you
now,
do that?
just before the meeting. This kind of
I
procedure,
haven't seen it.
10 minutes ago.
so 10 minutes ago. This kind of procedure doesn't require me to give
This
you
is
proper
terribly
notice.
disruptive.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm gonna call for a timeout here. Thank you. The county attorney has weighed in. We do have the bylaws on the agenda. You have an applicant that is here. You have neighbors that are here. You have an agenda that is outlining the Prock. So at that time, when the bylaws are part of the discussion, then the planning commission can entertain those questions. And the county attorney has also weighed in, so we will be forwarding that to you as well at that time. But again, I would like you to concentrate on the applicant because they are in the audience as well as other members of the community at this time.
I
Thank you.
understand that.
Thank you.
I do believe it's in the best interest of the community to hear that we are governed by Robert's Rules of Order. And in Robert's Rules of Order, when we are in violation of our bylaws, every decision we have is rendered null and void. Again, I have referenced all of this in the email I sent out. So before we can continue, this is a secondary incidental motion on the matter at hand. Anything we come to tonight may be rendered null and void because of the violations in our bylaws as they stand right now,
Okay,
as we are as a commission.
so that would be certainly something that somebody can determine at a later date if it may be rendered. So from that point on, I want to go back to Prock, because if you're right, then someone may be able to do that. For now, we're going to deal with the Prock. And if there's a controversy or somebody wants to contest what we do, that's something that can happen at a later date. So do you have any
Chairman?
questions regarding the Prock presentation from staff?
Yes, I do. I do have a question.
Sure.
Your duties as chairman, as stated in our bylaws, is to uphold the laws and make sure that all steps taken by this commission are done dutifully. It also states that no matter takes precedence over an inquiry of information. So my inquiry is what law allows us to violate our bylaws and still act in a legislative capacity? And we are creating laws and voting on them. Is that not a legislative capacity? We are not a form of governmental branch right now.
No, we don't create laws.
you know, I would rather hear whatever the county attorney's opinion is on this, rather than to listen to Victoria, who I don't believe has a law degree and is just
Do you have some
spouting
sort
off
of legal
stuff.
filing of?
So I'd like to go
Yeah.
on with this. This is
Yeah,
just
so
crazy.
Robert's Rules of Order 33, Section 3 of Parliamentary Inquiry. To obtain information, the chair's duty is to answer such questions as it may assist in the appropriate motion, may assist in the rise of a proper point of order, and might help the commission to understand the parliamentary situation at hand. This is, as I stated, it's a secondary implementary motion, which takes precedence over all other motions that they are connected with. It yields to, I have this all in the email. All can be applied in reference to any motion, parliamentary situation out of which they arise. All are in order. And if they require immediate attention, which they do require immediate attention. Okay, Constitution of Colorado states that the ethics in government is that we must hold the respect and the confidence of the people and shall carry out all of our duties for the benefit of the people. They shall therefore avoid anything that is in violation of the public trust or even creates a justifiable impression among the members of the public that trust is being violated. By Robert's Rules of Order, when we are not following our bylaws, which I will now state because I guess the email didn't.
I thought it was.
Mr. Chairman, can I do a motion? We have put out this applicant more than once. And not because he hasn't come to the table with what needs to happen. He's come back several times. The last 2 weeks, my understanding is he's done a lot of due diligence to be able to have necessary information to us about lighting and hours of operation, et cetera. I truly believe, and I will agree with Steve, that this would be an attorney response if that's what she's asking for. I think we owe this man some respect and his time to show up yet again to present what he has found.
And the neighbors who have come.
So
May I
And the
s-
neighbors,
I
yes.
second.
I
just
will
motion.
respect
to address,
you all that
Victoria, to
have
address your
to-
concerns, they all may be legitimate, but you sent this to us months ago, so you
Yeah,
really
and
haven't
this
given
does not
anybody,
require
you haven't given
previous
anybody the
notice.
chance to even review
Me,
it.
okay, point of order then. Point of order that we are breaking our bylaws right now.
Okay,
Right.
and it may, everything we made that here may be in violation of that, and we're gonna still move forward. If someone so determines that our, whatever we do tonight can be rescinded, that'll happen at a later date, so I wanna move forward. Scott, do you have any questions for
The
staff?
problem is we cannot move forward because we are governed
We
by
collectively as a group
parliamentary.
can decide what we wanna do.
You
We
can't
would need an
vote.
attorney to weigh in on what you're.
Or we can just
talking
read the
about, because
laws.
You're claiming we're in violation, but.
Okay, we're in
you
violation.
You know the law.
Okay, so we are constituted by the Colorado State Constitution
I mean, I would weigh in with the
ensure
attorney. I think Cindy said
and
it best.
preserve public
got to move this
confidence. We
forward.
must have the
We've got
benefit
to
of
hear the
specific
applicant.
standards that guide our conduct.
I don't know.
And a penalty mechanism to enforce those standards. Our specific standards that we abide by are Robert's Rules of Order. The penalty mechanism for when we don't abide by them is that everything we do is rendered null and void.
Why didn't you send this earlier? I mean, give us a chance. Not everybody is swift as you.
You know, not everyone has time, including myself. I live a very busy life, time to fit in
So what are
research
you
about this kind
recommending
of
right
stuff.
now? What are you proposing that happen?
I recommend that we follow Robert's Rules of Order and we discuss the violations that are in place right now, as is our dutiful job.
I'm not saying-
being on this
I'm
commission.
not saying I'm with you or against you. I'm just saying, we brought these people in here, had been, last 2 weeks would have been great to
And like I
give,
said, all of
a
us,
little bit of a
don't
heads
have-
up.
I
just to
agree.
Not waste everybody's time,
I
mean, he's
agree.
trying to do a job too. I'm not saying you're right or wrong, and
I
I don't want to redo
apologize
stuff
for the
either.
inconvenience to the
It's
members
just-
that showed up to
you're
this
throwing-
meeting, but as it stands,
Throwing fuel on a
this
fire,
is in the best
you know.
of his interest, because anything that we decide tonight,
Well, I'm sure he would have
May
loved
not
for you to
uphold.
tell him other than right
And
now.
I disagree with you that what you're saying is correct. So I think we should move forward.
you can disagree all you want,
That's
but I can
fine.
state
We
laws.
can
Chairman,
Let's
I'd like to
agree to
motion-
disagree. Let's agree to disagree. We're gonna move forward.
We bring this to a
Well, that's how
close
we're
If you
gonna work it.
dismiss,
and move this conversation forward. And
That's-
if there is such a thing as closure under Robert's
Virginia,
rules.
So
of
there's a
order,
motion,
Virginia,
following Robert's Rules of Order, there is a motion on the table. Sydney made a motion to proceed with Prock. Was there a second to that
I
motion?
seconded that.
here's
Okay.
the thing, no motion takes precedence over a parliamentary inquiry, and it must
So
be
what is your-
You
settled.
are,
So
you
what
are
is
not
your
a
body
parliamentarian, you're not an attorney.
In Robert's
We're
Rules
gonna
of
move
Order,
forward.
every single one of us, as
Let's
members
take a
of the
vote.
commission, has a right
Let's take a
to
vote.
debate, to bring forth a motion. This is a secondary
We're
incidental
not
motion,
talking.
which means that you cannot override it, you do not
We are
have to second
talking
it, and it
here.
must be dealt with before.
This
you
is not
do.
an
Can
attorney.
you-
We recognize that there's a
But
lot.
the question is,
Would you
what
call the
allows
vote?
us-
So we have a
Thank you.
motion and a second. We have a motion and a second,
Okay,
and we've noted your issue, and we still have a motion and a second. Is there any
okay,
further
parliamentary
discussion?
inquiry and request for
Victoria.
information do
Can
not,
you remove
do
it?
not
Victoria,
require
you're
a
being
second.
unruly and not allowing this to move
They
forward.
are
We have a
not
motion and a
debatable.
second.
They are not debatable, and though they may be accompanied by a brief explanation, no vote is taken for me to get an answer, and we do have a lawyer present. I have read Robert's Rules of Order. If you want to supply me with something from Robert's Rules of Order that goes against what I'm saying, please do so. That's your duty as the chairman, is to inform me, as I've asked you a question, of what the laws are.
Answer her inquiry.
We have a
by saying we're
motion
going to
and a
wait on
second.
hearing from
Can we have a vote?
attorney.
Yeah,
Or is
well,
it
we
they
did say
agree?
that. I mean, we did have an answer from the attorney, but we have it on the agenda after the hearing for the Prock, and we want to discuss it then, but she's not, doesn't seem to
Well, the reason
feel
this
like
is
that's
relevant
important.
is because it directly affects our decision
So maybe
making.
we gotta do this before, just, I don't know.
But we have
Yeah, I understand.
Neighbors, we have
I'm with you.
You know how
applicant
it is to
here.
apply for.
This is obviously land use code. This is,
This is law.
this is
the
a
fact
key
that we
land
are
use
breaking the
code.
law.
People are mad. You're
No.
obviously with
What?
them.
No,
But
Steve.
what
need to move
what
on
point
with
is
your
that, are we not abiding by our bylaws, you know?
So there are a couple different ways we're not abiding. Okay, so firstly,
Okay.
when we selected Tom Kay as chairman, that was a violation of the laws.
We're gonna take a 10-minute break.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna take a 10-minute break.
Thank you.
Prox, stay where you are. We're just gonna take 10 minutes.
Man, I wish.
Recording stopped.
I didn't-
Recording in progress.
Victoria, your complaint is noted. And I just want to ask, what is specifically your complaint about? My role?
My inquiry, my question
Yes.
that I'm making a motion, a secondary incidental motion, which means that it's relevant to be answered
What's your
before we
motion?
can. What laws allow us to act in violation of our bylaws?
I understand.
Because
That's
there
not
are
a motion, that's a
state
question.
statutes that tell us we are not allowed to break our bylaws.
Okay.
Robert's Rules of Order continuously states that our bylaws are our supreme governing body. If our bylaws go over Robert's Rules of Order, we follow our bylaws.
And what
Point of
is,
clarification,
what in
Mr.
the
Chair,
bylaws?
I haven't heard anything of what specifically is being violated in the
What's
bylaws.
violated?
So there are two things. Your term as chair has expired and therefore, and again, I wasn't educated the first meeting that I had here and I was told that we can make an amendment and it's a friendly amendment to vote you in. That's incorrect. So it was a violation of our bylaws. Secondly, the only people that are allowed to serve on this board are members who reside in unincorporated Delta County. So the people that don't reside outside of city limits are breaking our bylaws.
Okay, so can we separate those two out? Because
Yes.
the incorporated versus unincorporated, to me, is a legal opinion. I'm not sure your legal opinion will suffice to answer that right now. Your objection to the way we elected a chairman can be resolved right now if I will step down as chair. Is that fair? Is that fair? Will that address your problem?
If you
If
step
I step
down as
down right
chair,
now,
that section of the inquiry and that section of our illegality is solved.
okay. So if I do that, can we proceed with the Prock hearing?
Like I
I don't
said,
know about
to me, this is unethical and immoral for me with the information that I have to sit as we act outside of our capacity.
So if
We
I
are
step down,
bound
what's,
by the bylaws. that
what are we
includes-
objecting in the bylaws?
Besides your chairmanship, that includes the residential status of the
But-
planning
But
commission.
again, that's a legal
You're beating around the
opinion
bush. What
that
do
we
you
don't
mean by
have
that?
quite yet.
I mean,
residential
in our bylaws, it states that you can only serve on this commission because this commission only determines things in unincorporated Delta County, that you must also reside in unincorporated Delta County.
Who doesn't? I mean, just kick it out.
Well, it's a personal thing she's having.
She doesn't. Is this who she's talking
Who it
about
is?
or who are you talking
Quite
about?
a, I mean,
Come on.
There have,
multiple people.
there have been people, including myself, but that is on the agenda to
Mhm.
discuss later.
Mhm.
So
So
And
I'm
the
trying to
commissioner-
ask, I'm trying to.
And again, it circles back
I'm
to
trying to
the
get a
question.
compromise from you to say,
I
can we
know.
move forward with this if I step down?
like I said,
Please just answer my question. Can we move forward with Prock if I step down?
No, because we're still not abiding by our bylaws.
You're still beating around the bush. Tell me
There's,
which
I
one
saw,
is it? This
Victoria,
one?
Well, the
you're
thing is-
presenting one thing's fact. I saw a separate resolution that the commissioners had made
Yes, sir, you did.
that seemed to allow for the different residential distribution. of-
Well, and here's where I can reference that the assembly above us, which is the Board of County Commissioners, when they act outside of their capacity, which is to assign members within our bylaw terms, everything they have assigned is null and void. So their assignment of the members that reside
That's
outside.
fine. I hear what you're saying. Is the county attorney on hold? Is he ready to opine on this? Because otherwise, we should just move forward. You're presenting a legal opinion, but we don't have a county attorney here to represent a separate opinion.
Our opinion and
I saw a
our
resolution that's
time
arguing something
doesn't
against
matter.
what you said. It was a
The
legally
laws
passed
matter.
resolution. A legally passed resolution certainly matters, and it was recorded. And so I'm gonna say that that resolution carries weight, and you're presenting an argument, you may be true. I'm not gonna present a legal argument in opposition to that. I would ask the county attorney to do that. If he's not on hold, then I think we move this thing forward, and this stuff could be taken up in court later.
So who, amongst us, who lives not in?
We'll talk about all that at the end of this.
That's part of our
When we have a discussion about it. I want to figure out how do we move forward. Are you satisfied? Will you make a motion?
How we move forward is, like I said, I'm not knowledgeable of everything. I'm not a lawyer. But the information I do have goes against everything that you guys are telling me. So if you can provide me with legal proof, information that we are abiding by the law, then we can move forward as a legal entity.
Are you?
If we're not abiding by the law,
Are you saying
anything we do here is a
can't-
waste of our time.
We can't meet tonight.
I think it's more
Unless
like an
we can-
innocent to
That's right.
proven guilty thing. If you can provide legal information,
I have
that,
provided it. If you
that
open your
an
email right
attorney
now,
can give
you
us
can
information
cite
ahead of this
anything
meeting,
that
then
I've
fine.
provided.
But in other words, let's move this thing forward, right?
So
Provide
as
the
the
legal
executive board,
information,
here we go.
get an attorney and get with the county
Victoria,
attorney.
would you
and
let
let's
someone
get
else take
a settlement?
have the floor for just a second? Go ahead, Kate.
Victoria, I think we're at kind of an impasse. We've heard your opinion on whether this meeting should go on tonight. We've heard that you don't feel comfortable acting, or you don't feel ethical with the proceedings to continue based on your assessment of the legal standing. That is not the opinion of everyone in this room. You can make a motion to end tonight's hearing or table it again. You can make a motion to change the order of the agenda. Or you can choose to not vote on these matters because you don't feel like you want to be represented in what's happening. But you need to make a motion. You need to
have
make a
made a
suggestion.
motion. I
Okay,
have
so
made a
what is
motion.
your?
What's the
My
motion?
What is your
motion
motion?
is that I have a point of information that I'm looking for. That is a motion. It's a secondary incidental motion. And if you would like me.
But so I
We don't
think
have
the chair,
information,
I think
we
the
can't
chair has
continue on
answered your.
legally.
So for us to
This must
accept the
be dealt
motion, we
with.
need a second. isn't
No,
it?
you don't. So in
Oh.
Robert's Rules of Order, this
So
action
how are you,
does not.
what are
need
you
a second.
looking, how are you looking to proceed? Are you looking for the
looking-
meeting to end
It's for
tonight?
us to talk honestly about, are we following the laws here?
Well, I saw a resolution that said we were, so.
No,
Is
the
that
Board
good
of
enough?
County Commissioners who are also not
So
lawyers and
the
sent that to Carl.
Point of
and
order,
Carl said,
please,
however.
point of order. I do have a statement that the county attorney has weighed in. It is on the agenda later after the Procks have their hearing in front of you. But I will read one portion that addresses the membership. It says, CRS 30-28-103 addresses the membership requirements of planning commission members. It states, each of such members of the commission shall be a resident of the county. In resolution number 2018 R-025, the Board of County Commissioners directed the PC to ensure that such rules adopted are consistent with 30-28-103. The PC bylaws 5.1 is in part inconsistent with the state statute and inconsistent with the BoCC's directive. Additionally, without dispute, the BoCC has the authority to create a planning commission and appoint members within the limitations of state statute. Again, CRS 30-28-103, 1 and 2. The PC has no authority to adopt bylaws in conflict with state statute and the BoC's direction. Summary. The PC has no authority to limit its own membership to those people who live in unincorporated areas of the Delta County. To the extent that PC bylaws 5.1 limits membership to only those who reside in unincorporated areas of Delta County, it is void since it is outside the authority of the PC and conflicts with state statute. So in the county attorney's words, right here in the memo, then the state statute rules, meaning that members just need to reside in Delta County, which they do based on 2018 R-025.
So that's the opinion from the county attorney. And we're gonna, I mean, unless, I think that's the only legal opinion that we have to follow tonight. So that issue is off the table. Can we move forward if I step down as chair?
Forever or just right now for this?
For tonight, and we're still on the agenda to discuss it at the end, right? For the Prock hearing right now.
Okay,
Will you
so-
accept that?
My biggest question right there
Well,
was
that answers
that,
the question, Mr. Chairman.
It does answer the question. So, I mean, I'm trying to address your.
Beyond that,
yes, for us to be within our
Okay,
bylaws, you must
So I'm gonna
resign
resign
as
for this hearing
president.
tonight.
Just
and I'm
for
gonna
tonight.
ask the vice chairman to take it on, and then we're gonna move on to the Prock hearing.
Thank you.
We'll keep moving forward.
But I would, before we
Thank
like
you.
to continue,
So
I
we're
would
gonna
just like
recognize
to.
other people right now.
I know, I just have one
No,
state
you
statute.
had your
We're-
time.
we're done.
We're done. We're done.
She
We're done.
said her
We
legal
read
opinion.
it. We're
You're
moving
not
forward.
an
Victoria,
attorney.
if you need
I
to
just
continue to
wanna
disrupt,
state
I'll have you,
That
I'll
with
ask you
me
to remove
saying
yourself.
everything that I've said and sending out the information that I have, Colorado state statute will hold us liable if we are breaking the law because now we are knowledgeable.
Okay,
that we are
we've
breaking the law.
received opinion from a qualified attorney. You are not that. So please don't keep quoting what Colorado law
Yes,
is
I
gonna
don't
make
have
us
to be an
do.
attorney to read something.
You're not an attorney. That would be practicing law, and that's illegal.
We have
So Jacob,
point of
Move
received
forward.
legal advice.
We're gonna stop, okay? Mr. Queen, do you have any questions of staff
On the Prock, man.
on Prock? Are we okay with where we're at with? We're gonna open up public comment. I'm gonna read from the list. If anyone hasn't, at the end, I'll just do a double check at the end, see if anyone else wants to speak. I have Ron Hayes first.
Yeah, and I live 2153 Testman Road. Through all of this, when I first found out about it from Brenda, I guess in the back of my mind is, wow, that's a great idea and Delta County needs it. But what's in it for me? We just built a wonderful house right there. Spent a lot of money on it. Money which was hard earned. Now I see that the county won't even fix the signs. You're not even going as far as where the major intersections are, where the accidents are. You're basing the traffic count on a 2-year-old study. And I can list right now 12 teenagers that have just gotten their driver's licenses from these subdivisions. They're driving it every day. So I think a traffic counter needs to be out there. You don't take into consideration that that is zoned ag. There's no signs in that part of the county because they get knocked over by this large ag equipment and they don't get set back up. When the stop sign was stolen at the corner of Snaffle Bit there in Testman Road, it took 10 days to get it replaced. That's, I just see the disappointment, I'm also on the board of the Elks, and ever since we required a security guard at our events, nobody's booked one. So that knocked us out of that. The club manager just verified that. But that's neither here nor there. You want to do a traffic count? Come sit in my front yard all day long, sir. I mean, what you read is awesome, but that's not Testman Road and 1600 Road tomorrow. You got to take into consideration in September too, during harvest, silage, There was corn trucks running today down 1600 Road that they're taking to Foster Farms. It's not just seasonal, it's daily.
You direct
So-
us.
So yeah, I'm directing to the whole crowd. I'm not seeing anybody out, but my disappointment started off the bat with this meeting to know if this is even a moot point, because what she brought up is legitimate. So, we all could be wasting all of our time right here, right now, until that's investigated. So I think on that, I'll just be quiet, and I welcome my property to any of you guys that want to come out there during the day and sit and watch. It's nice, it's peaceful. I don't think what they're planning is gonna hurt anything, but you're not seeing the whole picture. And I look around this room and I can honestly say, I'm third generation California Mason. There isn't anybody in here that's lived out there longer than I have. And any occupation that can be done out there, I've done. I've even driven a tractor, knocked over a sign in a mailbox, but it was in my heart to always try to go back and do that right thing and put them back up. Who's to say when they're gonna move cows down those roads? You're not looking at the big picture. So that's where I'm gonna stand. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Jerry Kittinger,
They left.
they left. Is there anyone else? I've run through my list. I have Cindy and Zach Prock and Brenda. Is there anyone else that wants to speak on this?
I would have one more.
Year on average over the year, when so you
Well,
could,
it's not gonna be in
This
mid-February.
right,
is
but
a,
on average over the year,
this is a
right?
private business.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of
And
restrictions.
we're
anyway,
gonna
really.
start restricting some private business activity.
I hear you.
Not that an overuse in having it be a real nuisance to the neighborhood is not an issue, but when we get into controlling private business interests, I don't like.
Well, we did at the asphalt plant, we restricted their private business.
Well, for reasons that there were commitments, right?
They were CDL drivers, that's why.
Okay. Anything? Do you have any conditions you'd like to see?
No, I just, as part of the traffic management plan, I would like to see signage, but I think you had that in there. And I would like, I don't know that we can require it, but I'd sure like to see it in your advertising. You would do recommended routes for people coming from Montrose or coming from Great Junction.
What kind of balloons you want? Blue or purple?
I don't care.
Put that in there.
But getting it away from
Let's see if that was.
Chessman and getting it away from kids and bicycles the best you can in your own advertising makes a hell of a lot of sense to me, for your interest and for everybody else's interest.
Do you feel like that would be covered under the traffic control?
Well, I think it ought to be, but I mean, it's like you guys aren't flying with this stuff I bring up, even though it's eminently sensible. But it's sort of up to them. I'm not sure we can require how they advertise, but I mean, I originally thought about specified routes and nobody was gonna go with that. Although we have done that, we did that, tried to do it on the solar side.
No impact fee today, Steve? We hit the impact deal,
Pardon me?
impact fee deal, all these extra.
No, we asked them to take a look at that, and the guys said they saw it, everything was up. It's not, unless there's signage put in, that would be an impact.
So I'd entertain a motion. If it would be one on four.
I'll make a motion for approval, to recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners for said subdivision, the Prock, or excuse me, not subdivision, the Prock Event Center with the following conditions, if you'll read off the record.
Condition one, condition that rooms and RV spaces be short-term rentals, and if they are to be long-term, a separate application be submitted. Condition two, condition that a fire mitigation plan be submitted and approved by the fire chief. Condition three, that music and drink be done by midnight. Condition four, that a maintenance agreement with UVWA is on file. Condition five, that they work with the county engineer to establish a mutually agreeable decision on traffic control. And condition six, that documentation that the building plans meet the fire code. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion on said motion? Hearing none, put it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
I'm gonna have to abstain from voting due to a conflict of interest, and due to our bylaws, I have to state on the record what my conflict of interest is, and that is part 3 of A 7.2. I'm gonna have to abstain from voting because this commission goes by Robert's Rules of Order, and the laws that I want to quote on the record that constitute me abstaining from voting are the Colorado State Constitution Amendment 41, A through E, Ethics in Government, State Statute 30-28-104, State Statute 18-8-404, and 18-8-405.
Recording in progress.
Thank you. We're gonna bring back to the table. We have on our agenda C Planning Commission bylaws. We'll take it to Carl.
Actually, I think Robbie.
We just have one sentence from the county attorney. Again, this is the memo from the county attorney. Confidential and privileged legal advice. However, one sentence can be put here. A planning commission officer who has served 2 years in a particular position is ineligible to be re-elected to that position until after 1 year has passed.
In light of the debate this evening, it would be my recommendation, Mr. Chair, that you defer this item and ask for an executive session with the county attorney to actually get legal advice from the county's legal counsel.
Do we need a motion for that?
I would, yeah.
I'll make a motion to do what Carl said.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, so the discussion is we'll come together with John Mayer. We've had to do this before in the past. Go to the big man, we'll ask him all his questions and.
But the way it is right now, you could serve 2 years, then just not serve a year, but you could always be reelected back to serve another 2 years, as long as you have a year gap in between, correct?
That is correct, and if the chair vacates the position for any reason, the vice chair becomes the chair, and then the planning commission elects a new vice chair.
So would that, if that did happen, would that individual just fill out the rest of that term of that person and then still have an additional 2 years? Or would it be from the time that they took over that position, it would be 2 years?
That's not clear.
Okay,
We'll ask John.
just sorry to ask.
But
Okay.
I'll also add, the planning commission is not obligated to have bylaws.
Okay.
So that's something that you may also want to be thinking about. If either you want to amend your bylaws
Okay.
Obviously, one thing relative to the membership is not consistent with statute. So that would be one thing. And then if you wanted to have a different conversation about how the chair or vice chair elections work, you could have that conversation as well, provided it's consistent with statute. Or you can just not have bylaws at all.
I have a question. So from what I've read, the planning commission, okay, I'll reference Colorado state statute. Colorado state statute states that the planning commission shall adopt such rules and regulations governing its procedures as it may consider necessary or advisable, and shall keep a record of its proceedings, which shall be open to inspection by the public at all times. The Board of County Commissioners has authority to employ experts and staff and shall pay such expenses as may be deemed necessary for carrying out the powers conferred and the duties prescribed in this article. So if the Planning Commission shall adopt such rules and regulations governing its procedures, what are those rules and regulations?
It said as necessary, or as it deems necessary.
Yes, but it still shall adopt a
As
set.
it deems
That's
necessary.
the reason for my recommendation.
So
until
what are
the county's legal
As it
counsel
deems
is
necessary,
able to be
as
here.
we deem it necessary. That's
We'll,
what that said.
we're gonna ask Joe. We don't know it. That'll be the best thing.
Got 8 years getting that.
We have a motion in a second.
There's a motion and a second. Last thing I'll say is that if we do make any changes to our bylaws, it will be publicly notified. We will have a public hearing on it. We're not gonna go to this exec session and do away with all the bylaws. So folks in the room and online don't think that's what's gonna happen. Just know we need to square some things away apparently. Motion on the floor second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. That brings us to D, Department Report, Carl.
Couple items, Mr. Chair. First of all, at the last board meeting, the board asked to have an item on March 21st regarding the solar moratorium, which effectively expired March 6th. It was initially established for 6 months or until land use code was adopted with standards, which had not happened. And so there will be an item on the March 21st agenda for the board to consider extending that moratorium for 6 months. Also, they've given direction for me to put out an RFQ for surveying services, primarily for subdivision reviews. So we'll be doing that. And then also finally, the land use code, there is a work session tomorrow at 1 p.m. with the Board of County Commissioners. And they'll be reviewing a red line of the 2021 land use code, per their direction on March 1st at the work session following the public hearing.
Not March 1st, April.
No, March 1st.
It was from March 1st.
From
so I
March
don't have
1st.
to-
I'm sorry. I thought you said you were public hearing. Work session.
So once the board completes their review of the red line, whatever they want to add, delete, modify, it will be referred to your planning commission, and you'll have up to 30 days to report back to the Board of County Commissioners, and then they will have a public hearing and take action.
So at this point, all public hearing on land use code will be at the Board of County Commissioners.
That is correct. That concludes my report.
Thank you.
March.
What are we intended to do then if we don't? We're not gonna-
Well, they're gonna send us a red line.
And what are we doing?
Give them our
The
comments.
same, I mean, the way the statute is written is you accept, reject, or suggest modifications, then the board will take that under consideration at a public hearing.
And we have 30 days to do that, for the time we receive it, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Or I suppose no comment.
Could be.
But that would be an accept.
Are there any other commissioner comments, requests, referrals?
I have a question. Where's Lane?
Lane had cataract surgery, and today
Is he still part of the same?
he's an associate.
He's
He's an associate member, and Victoria is the sitting member. Lane wouldn't have voted tonight. So the
I must
rest
have missed all that.
How was Japan?
That's outside this meeting.
We're adjourned.
Now you can ask her.
Now you can do a slideshow.
All right.